Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to the Marketing That Grows Your Business show. I say good morning, but it could be good afternoon or good evening, depending on where you are in the world. That said, where are you in the world? Let us know down under. Love to say hey to you. If you are brand new, never been on one of my shows before, my name is Kim Garst. I am very passionate about sharing what I know and bringing other people into the show that can give you amazing knowledge around their experiences and what's working for them. So if you've ever wondered how to get paid to talk, and maybe you just need a little gentle kick in the butt as to, yes, you can get paid to talk, then you are in the right place today. Super excited about our guest. I have known Carrie for many years. We were just talking before the show and, catching up. So we were like, man, we've been around a minute. We'll talk about that more in a second. But anyway, like I say, if you are just brand new, say new, hashtag new in the comment area down under and let us know that you're new to the show. Like I say, where are you joining us from? We'd love to know. Every week we do, sorry, I got a frog this morning. You know what? I just realized I forgot to say happy Halloween in case you are celebrating. I didn't dress up. I don't do the dress up thing too often, but yeah. Anyway, who's dressing up? Who's got a party to go to? Who's already been to a party? I'd like to know. Where's the pictures? Share the pictures, Maybe I did do the Halloween thing, so I'll tell y'all quickly. So my husband is retired military. Some of you may know that or you may not. It's not that important, but we went to our first military ball in years, like last Friday, I guess it was, this past Friday in Nashville. And so it was like playing dress up again, wearing the dress that doesn't make you feel too comfortable. And, the heels, I wore my booties because I'm like, yeah, I'm not getting into heels. I don't do that anymore. But incredible, amazing women and dressed in they were all ages, from youngsters to probably older ladies that were just looked fabulous. So it was just a really interesting experience to go back to a military ball. We haven't been to one in probably 15, 20 years. So it was a minute. So I did feel like I was playing dress up is the point. So weekly giveaway. We're giving 2 books away. It's Carrie's book, The Barefoot Executive. Y'all, she just told me something that I'm going to share with you guys in a minute. Now this book is amazing, by the way. If you haven't, some of you may have seen it or may have it in your library of amazing books. But if you don't have it, then you want this book because it's what I call an evergreen book. It's something that is going to be beneficial to you regardless of when it was wrote or how long into the future. It's really a fabulous, fabulous book. So we're going to be giving away 2 of those today. And if you want to win, how do you win, right? So we have 3 core ways that you can win. 1, share your aha moments in the comments. So something that Carrie said when we were talking before, she's going to repeat it because I'm going to ask her to repeat it. That's going to be an aha moment. I'm just going to tell you right now, whether you acknowledge it as I already knew it, because that's what an aha moment is. Sometimes you already know things, you just need to hear them again. Or, wow, I didn't know that. And that's, a golden nugget for me. But use those aha moments, put them in the comment area down under, hashtag aha. That's how we enter you into the wheel of wow. That's what we call our wheel. We actually have a wheel. And if you put in your hashtag aha moments, we'll enter you in. And if you do multiple hashtag aha moments, then yes, you get multiple entries into winning the prizes. Also, if you know someone who will get value from this, if you know someone who, hey, I've been wanting to speak forever, but I don't know, can I get paid to do this? Share it, tag them, sprinkle it out in the world, whatever. Let's get some folks in here that need this knowledge. And then we ask questions. We love them. We'll try to get to as many as we can. If we miss one somewhere along the line, then we'll certainly circle back after the show. We draw the winner at the end of today's show. So hang in there till the end so that you know if you won or not. Okay. All right. So let me tell you a little bit about Carrie. So, Carrie is a best-selling author, an international speaker, and a sought-after television and radio personality that has consulted with Google and many other businesses. Y'all, she just told me something that just like was amazing. We'll pull that out of her again. Carrie loves showing people how to transform their lives, whether you hang around for her tough love, her hysterical, no filters humor, or her biggest Texas heart. She'll inspire you and help you to make a plan to be more productive and more profitable without sacrificing your priorities. That's a biggie. So you guys put your hands together for Carrie.
Good morning. Good morning.
I'm so excited to have you, Carrie. We were just talking. It's been a minute since we have connected in person. I don't even know when that Creative Love thing was.
14?
It's been
14.
It probably was for 2014. We lost 2 years. So does that count?
We lost 2, yeah. And even then, it had been 7 years since we met online till we met in person.
Right.
And then we haven't seen each other since. So,
yeah. But we were just saying that's a darn shame. We got to fix that.
We do got to fix that. We'll start today.
Yeah, that's right. So, well, I'm excited to have you with us today. And we were also talking about that we've been around a minute. So I don't know, we might be grandmothers of the internet, but
there have been multiple generations of those that have come behind us. Yeah, we were some of the first, and that's probably why we met, because there were so few of us females in the space at the time in the early 2000s, and leveraging things. And I'll say doing it well and with integrity. Let me qualify that. There's been a lot of people doing it, but we don't have any major scandals attached to our names. We are still connected to our same spouses. It's been a journey, because entrepreneurship is a journey with a spouse. Our kids are, relatively well adjusted, but the good thing is we've made money enough to fund their therapy funds. So that's healthy and good. That's all good. And we're still in business, and that's amazing. And so I love it. I don't know about you, but I've got people that have been on my email list since I started.
Yes. And so I have people in one of my programs. It's a membership program. They've been with me for 8, 9, 10 years. I mean, it's crazy. And I'm so thankful for them. And so I've been doing some sales calls for my new program, and almost every one of them will say, well, Kim, I've been following you for years. And
for years. Like, yep. Mine have watched my kids grow up, because I started online when the baby, I was still a little nervous about online privacy. So I gave my kids all internet nicknames based on my brand. My first brand online was The Barefoot Executive, as you know, the name of my book. And so I gave them all names. So it was Boy Barefoot, because he's my only boy. And then it was Band Barefoot, because she was very in the marching band. It was Broadway Barefoot. She was 3. Kim, she's now in college studying music theater and directing. Was that forecasting or what?
Right.
And then baby Barefoot is now driving and in high school. So so it's been, we've been around. We've raised some kids. We've done some stuff, and we've hung in there. We've learned all the technology or outsourced it effectively and learned to leverage it for our business. And I'm so proud of us. I mean, come on, I'm so proud of us.
I mean, we've hung in there. I tell people all the time, I'm only here by attrition. Like, I refuse to give up.
Pig-headed stubbornness is what Chet Holmes called that. Pig-headed stubbornness.
Well, give us, if you don't mind, like a thumbnail of like your journey, like, how you got started in the online space, and, how you got to kind of like where you are today, if you would.
Yeah, I didn't start in the online space on purpose. By the way, we are super casual. Like, this is not a Zoom background. This is my actual bedroom. I had 3 studios around the house because I don't like to work in the same space all day, and I love the natural light in here. So enjoy the view of the puppies back there. So I didn't intend to have an online business, and I still maintain there's really not such a thing as an online business. It's just a medium. It's just a piece of real estate, just like any business. Business is business. If you're exchanging something of value, it's just the matter in which you exchange it. So I was a serial job hopper. Like, I was a great employee, but I would get bored or burned out within 2 or 3 years. When I was younger, I was a college graduate. I married really young. I got involved I bought my first house when I was 21 years old, before I even graduated college. And then I became a teacher. in high school and I loved it and I did great. But in that career, I learned some marketing things because I did the yearbook in the newspaper and I turned the budget around and I learned how to do marketing and I loved it. Loved business. I had no business training up until then. My husband just made one of those little simple comments, Kim, you know the ones. There's probably 5 or 6 of these in your life that change the trajectory of how you think. My husband said, "You're so good at making other people money. Why don't you make us some?" And so that just kind of planted in my head. That same year, my third year teaching, we adopted 2 children from the foster care system. And overnight, I stopped being an employee. I let my contract run out and then I decided not to go back the next year. And so I started a business at home, not because I had a big idea, not because I had a big burning passion, not because I wanted to change the world, but I wanted to change the room. I wanted to change the room I was in. And that meant being very present for my kids. They had a hard start. And I didn't want them to wonder who mom was or where mom was. And it was literally that. And so as I was investigating work at home opportunities, there weren't that many except direct sales at the time. I went to the library and checked out books. Google was Google wasn't even around at that point, but online search was very rudimentary at that point. But I said to my husband, I'm a college educated woman with a lot of really smart skills. There has got to be something I can do from home using the computer and my brain. There has just got to be something of value I can exchange for money. So I started a service-based business and that evolved and did really well. Well, in that business, I started using some automation for scale. I started learning about autoresponders and automatic payments because he was hand entering checks into QuickBooks and we were doing manual charges. And so I implemented some automation and some online things out of necessity and scale. Long story short, then that's when I start seeing this online marketing space and I think, okay, I bet I could productize some things, et cetera. And because we were among some of the first women in the space, it got people's attention. And they're like, what in the heck? What are you doing? How are you doing it? You've got all these kids at home. And all of a sudden, you're making all this money. Don't you people work? Retired my husband. And I started getting asked to speak. So I did not ever intend to be an author or a speaker or online guru, celebrity, whatever you want to call it. People asked me to share my knowledge on stages. And it just so happened I was good at it. It happened that I was entertaining. It happened that I loved it and that I was really good at connecting with people and conveying a message in really simple ways they could understand. And so as a result, I kind of morphed into speaker coach. I did not intend to be a speaker or coach. I had a service-based desktop publishing business that was delivered completely online, but it morphed because that's where my audience and the market took me. And now I do that. Plus, I consult inside of training and coaching businesses. So people that already have the audience I love to work with, they bring me in to optimize their systems, love on their people, teach their people how to love on other people. And I get to do the parts of business that I love and not as much what I don't love, which is the benefit of age, wisdom, and experience, right? You get to earn some of those spaces. I still love to speak. I speak a lot. And I'm writing again. So that's very exciting.
Yes, we're going to talk more about that in a second, which is because I think that is very exciting. But a couple of things I wanted to pull out of what you just shared, because I think it's so important for people to understand that lots of times, and I've told my boys this for years, I'm like, just get on the road. Like, stuff doesn't have to be perfect. What happens as a byproduct of us getting on the road is opportunities present themselves.
Yeah.
Similarly to you, I call myself an accidental entrepreneur because when I started my business, loosely, I called it a business.
Right.
I just wanted to make an extra $200 to pay the car payment.
Yep.
So I just got on the road and opportunities presented themselves. I didn't set out to be a social media influencer or, any of the things that have come my way, speaking on big stages, similarly to you. That was never my vision. It just was a byproduct of building authority around an expertise, and the opportunities started to present themselves. It's super important for you to hear because you do, I think, have to do the work. It is not like if you do the work, you show up, you care, love on because I use that word too, love on your people. Um, it happens. It's a byproduct of all of this. But I do believe that there are things, if you are intentional, that you can start
Mm.
to monetize. So,
Oh,
or
agree.
do with some, to get you there faster based on, our accidents, right? Like we've learned a lot accidentally.
And painfully, sometimes.
Right. And that way we can share those lessons with you guys, and hopefully you can get there. You can go the fast road, not the slow road.
Yeah, and two things I want to pull out, and I saw somebody comment on this. Two things I want to pull out of that is one aha is Kim and I both love on our people. I believe that's why Kim and I are still here, and 90% of our colleagues / competitors are not still here. Because our people know we love them. Somebody said to me, one of the gurus said to me one time, I don't understand it. I don't understand why your people are so crazy about you. Your copy is bad. your offers are, you're a business coach. There's so many other people doing the same thing. I just don't understand why you have these raving fans. And I said, I'll tell you, it's because they know I love them.
Yes.
It's not that they love me. It's that they love how I love them and that I care about them. And when you start working on transformation and people instead of transactions, not that we don't have to measure metrics. We do. But that doesn't have to be your number one indicator. So number one is love on your people. The other thing, that I pulled out of that is that we didn't look for shortcuts or like, how do we become an influencer? We loved on our people and we led ourselves first. If you want to influence people, if you want to have a change in the marketplace, change the room where you are, lead yourself first. Like if you want to lead everybody else, like that's why I hate all that marketing. You and I came up with this marketing, hearing the make this money at home in your underwear, like blah, 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 blah. Be as undisciplined as you want to be. BS. You have to have some discipline. You have to have some structure. You have to be your own boss or somebody else will happily do that for you. And Kim and I have put in the rep.
You have to make decisions, right? We were just talking about this. You have to show up and do the work and make the decisions. Don't let the perfectionism stop you from doing the next thing.
Yeah.
You go the next mile. It's just one step at a time. You don't start out with all the steps in place. It just doesn't happen. You just do the next thing. You get up every day and you do the next thing.
What if we did it? What if we never had kids until we knew how to be effective parents?
Or so this is such a great analogy. So when we were coming along, we were like, okay, we don't have enough money yet. Like we're not making enough money to support a kid. Do you ever have enough money to support a kid?
Never. And who's even more expensive than your kids is your parents when your parents start aging. That's even more expensive.
Yeah. That's a whole other stress.
Exactly. That's a whole other show about this stage of life that we're in.
So I didn't really know the difference between an extrovert and an introvert for years. I had heard the terms, but I never really self-identified as one or the other until I was at this event one time. And the speaker was talking about characteristics of introverts and knowing if you were one and you weren't. She had this little worksheet and you had to answer the questions, right? I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm an introvert. This explains like so many things that I didn't know about myself. This was years ago. And so my question to you is, if you are an introvert, can you show up and share your amazing sauce in a public setting without having a meltdown?
Yeah, I think, first of all, I always thought I was an extrovert. And a lot of people would label me as such because I'm really, really, really good with people in rooms. But the fact is, I'm more of an ambivert, which is a functional extrovert. But I go home and I recharge by being an introvert and hermiting. And those are coping skills. I read a study the other day that said introverts they excel at stage careers and performance and speaking and expertise making. And why is that? They said it's because then they control who interacts with them. Now let's think about that for a minute. I have a lot of kids that do stage stuff. My kids aren't sports kids, they're performance kids, and they also have anxiety. Well, they control that anxiety by being on the stage where the only interactions are the programmed interactions, not in the audience. And so I think introverts not only can excel at this, any kind of expert based business or doing lives or showing up, but I think they actually um, excel probably more than the extroverts because they don't need the attention. They don't crave the attention. They don't have to have the interaction, but they do want to share internally what they've learned and they can control the flow of the information back at them. So that may be a little counterintuitive to what most people think. I don't think it's about being an introvert or an extrovert, though, if I can interject another thought. I think it's more about our fear of the judgment of other people, which is not about introversion or extroversion at all. It's about what will they think of me, which is ego.
Boom. I'm just interjecting, mic drop. Okay. No,
Yeah.
that is so true. So I'm going to pull a couple of threads. We'll just have this because I think this is really at the root of it, which is what I feel holds a lot of people back from embracing public speaking. So, I agree with you. I don't think it's an introvert versus extrovert thing, although that's what most people throw out as an excuse, right? Like, oh, I'm an introvert. But I promise you, if you take a look at like people in the social space who are public facing, who are popular, who have influence and authority, and they're making bank, if you will, everyone that I can think of off the top of my head self-identify as an introvert.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everyone. I can't think of a one that doesn't. So if introversion and you know, I'm like you, I have to recharge. Like if I go to an event, like I'm done at the end of the day, I have to go back to the hotel room and just recharge. But what you just said about us, our ego, I think it goes back to, you may not think you have an ego, but we all do. And we don't want that the fear of what other people are going to say holds us back so stinking. I mean, it's just a huge issue.
It does. And it's silly. It's actually the most arrogant thing in the world to think that people spend that much time thinking about you.
Yes.
They just really don't. And I had a mentor that changed my thinking on that when I was in my 30s. She said, you'd quit worrying about what people thought about you if you realized how little they're thinking about you. They're worried about what you're thinking about them.
Yeah.
People are very out of sight, out of mind. They can be judgmental, but then they're moving on to the next news cycle. So if you're letting that stop you, then what a shame. That's a shame.
Well, it's like it's like having a light and putting a bushel barrel around it, or over top of it. You have a God-given skill set or a something in you, a message that needs to be shared.
Yeah.
And if you are hiding behind, somebody else's projections, because you think they're somebody else's projections, you're not even,
They're your own projections. They're your own projections, if we're honest.
Yeah.
But if you're not, if you're depriving people of your gift, if you're depriving people of your solution or your agency or your skill set, then actually you're the one being selfish. Yeah. And we got to stop that. We got to stop it.
Yeah, we got to stop. So this is two grannies here just kicking you in the butt, okay? Two internet grannies.
Internet grannies. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not going to get you anywhere. It's really not. Your most perfect work is not going to affect anyone if they don't see it. Even your least, you just need to affect somebody, even if it's just the one person. If it's just the one person in the whole room that I speak to that gets permission to go do something different with her life or show up in a bigger way or a more powerful way, then was it worth me having my feelings hurt about something? My pastor says, it's not your feelings that gets hurt. It's your ego.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anytime you feel left out or somebody says something, oh, that hurts my feelings. That was your ego that was wounded. Probably. It does still hurt, but it's your ego that got hurt.
Yeah. And really you got to let that stuff go because it's real. There's that old saying that it's not any of our business what other people think about us. Now it's hard to embrace that concept when, we haven't gotten there yet, but it's truly, it's just holding us back. It doesn't, whatever anybody else's opinion is, it doesn't really matter. But let's dig into this a little bit more. If somebody is out there and they want to speak, get paid to speak, and they're that person, we're just talking to them right now. We're like, they're holding back their own genius because of a fear factor. How do they reach down deep and pull out that courage to step out and put themselves out into the world?
Yeah, first of all, you stop thinking it's about you because it's not about you. You have to get over yourself. It's about the person who needs to hear what you have to say. It's about the person that needs to know what you learned when you went through what you went through because that's going to help them. It's about the person on the other end of the message. It's not about you. I Guys, listen, I've spoken to full arenas and thousands upon thousands of people at a time, and I'll have friends that say, "Oh, I can't imagine everybody having their eyes on me." I don't care if they have their eyes on me or not. I do want their ears. I do want their ears because if that mama or that dad or that sister or that child is changed by one thing, they have their thinking changed by one thing, and they go impact their family, and then that family impacts their community, and that community impacts their state. You can see that one person in an arena of thousands that had their ears on makes a big difference. So who am I to decide that because I'm 15 pounds overweight, or I don't like my hair or my age or my wrinkles or my body or my whatever, or I stutter or I'm not funny or whatever it is, should deprive that one family of being changed? What if my message was what they needed to hear? It's just selfish to not put it out there. You can get better as you go. You don't get better at speaking by reading books. You don't get better at speaking by taking webinars, reading blogs. You get better at speaking by speaking. And so you need to be doing things like this, lives like this. You need to be talking and speaking and communicating to audiences as much as possible. That's how you build confidence. That's how you build your skills. And that's how you build an audience. Bottom line.
Yeah.
So
You
get
know,
over yourself. It's not about you. It's about them.
it's not about you at all, and that's one of the things when I feel like if I had to put my finger on one thing that's helped me with my speaking, public speaking, if you will, is live video. Because I used to, even before live video, I spoke on big stages. First 3 minutes, my voice shook. No joke. My voice shook. It took me time to settle. And it was so like, and my brain operates faster than my mouth. So I would like stutter or, have 3 messages in one sentence and, all the things. But I feel like live video really helped me slow down
For sure.
and start to articulate more clearly my thoughts.
You know what I feel like helped me become a better communicator, and that is Twitter back in the day.
Yes.
Because we had to be so concise.
Yes.
We only had what was it, 180 characters before
140 back
when they first started.
Yeah.
It was super short, and you had to. Sometimes I would sit and edit and re-edit and tweak, and because humor is hard in a small thing. Aha is hard in a small word. And now it's just very natural to me. And I think it was honed with a lot of Twitter. But here's the other thing about public speaking or even lives like this. It's not a performance. Write that down. It's not a performance. It's a conversation. It's a conversation. When I was little, my dad was military, Kim, and my parents had their share of military balls. He was 27 years in the United States Coast Guard, search and rescue. And when he retired, he went into the ministry, another form of search and rescue, I guess. And I was a singer. I grew up knowing I would be on stage, but believing it would be singing. And I would sing at our church a lot, especially when somebody didn't show up that was supposed to. And when I was about 10 or so, 9 or 10, he said to me, okay, from now on, when you sing, you have to introduce the song and say something meaningful. You have to talk. And I said, nope, absolutely not doing that. I'm just going to sing my song. He said, nope, you have to make it meaningful or relevant or somehow read the room. He said, otherwise, Carrie, you're performing and it's time for you to shift from performing to leading. So I want you to have a conversation with the room. I was 9 or 10 years old, and I credit that with the skill that I have now for reading a room, tying it into the conversation that I have on stage. Dr. John Maxwell said, I've never seen anybody have a conversation with the room the way that Carrie Wilkerson does. He said, she doesn't talk at you. She's not performing for you. She is connecting with you and conversating with you. So if you realize that it's not about performing and getting it right or wrong, but chatting with them and connecting with them about what you want to convey, it's really a very different feeling. And if you've ever been in an audience where I'm on stage, it's very much like this. I'm very much the same on stage as I am off stage, and I think that's important too. So I don't put on an act or an air or a persona. I am who I am, and I think that takes the pressure off when you're doing public speaking as well.
You just said something that I think is super powerful. You talked about the fact that, we're still here, and potentially one of the reasons we're still around and relevant is because we love our people. But I think it's even bigger than that. I think it's the one thing that why do people still hang out and listen and pay attention and all that kind of stuff? I think it is because we're exactly the same in person as we are online.
Don't you get that a lot?
Yes.
Like when people see you, they're like, "Oh my gosh,"
Yes.
or I've been in a room of thousands and somebody will say, I hear Carrie. I don't see her yet, but I hear her because I'm little.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
hear her, but I don't see her because they're just used to my pattern of speech. Now, conversely, we've all met the guru or the speaker or the online persona that has not been the same in
Yes.
person, and it's been disappointing to us. It's either hurtful or we're like, oof, they show up so much better online than in person, or they're so much more approachable online than in person. We all know those divas too. And I just vowed very early on that what you see is what you see, and what you see is what you get. And
Absolutely. And
just
it's true, just not from not just from a visual perspective, because we're pulling that little box or a little photo out, right? But it's that, but it's just how do you engage and interact with people? How do you love people up in person? Is it the same? Are you putting on airs, or are you real? Are you authentic? I know that's a buzz phrase that everybody uses, but it's like, it's so core to really engaging, really, and connecting. I think that's probably your superpower on stage, is that audience connection that you have.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that for a second. If there's people who haven't really stepped into speaking yet, or maybe they've had a couple of speaking opportunities, but how do they prepare to be that person that shows up in such a way that, well, not only do they deliver a great experience for the audience, but that begs the next opportunity. So how do you prepare to be that person, I guess, is my question.
Yeah, I think you have to really know what you want to communicate to them. I think you have to know really what the core is of your message, and it's usually less than what you think it is. And what I mean by that is you can't tell them everything. Like, don't try to preach all the sermons at once, right? We need to know that you'll get an opportunity to speak again. Let's get one core thing you want them to take away. Don't try to cram everything all together at the same time. Have a simple message that they can latch onto. That's one way you prepare, is less. The other way you prepare is actually practice, like watch yourself speak, do videos, do podcasts. Don't think that when you get on stage to do it, it needs to be brand new, everything. It doesn't. It doesn't. It needs to be something you've rehearsed that you're comfortable with, because when your nerves attack you, or when somebody heckles you, or when the mic goes out or something unnerves you and disrupts your flow, you need to be so versed in what you're doing that you can just recover very quickly. So that's another way that you prepare. The other thing is you have to have a confidence in what you know, and a confidence in what you can convey, and a competence that you've done it before. So this is why you shouldn't really be teaching or speaking other people's material, or just saying platitudes, or just doing what you heard somebody else do. It really should be core to you. Like, my jokes are my jokes, my stories are my stories, my client stories are my client stories, and I just go from what I know. If you recall Little Women, the novel or the musical or the movies that have since come out, Joe writes all these stories that sell a little bit, but not great. And the love interest that she has in the film later, he says to her, I don't understand why you don't write what you know. why don't you write what you know? And what she writes then becomes Little Women, the story about she and her sisters and her mom and her dad. And that's what resonated with people, is when you go from what you know. So I would say what you know is more important than what you think. So
So good.
you are an expert to somebody else who's just behind you on the path.
Thank
You're
you.
you're
Yes.
useful to them, and so you need to quit thinking you have to be here. You need to address them at whatever point you are on the journey. So those are some ways to prepare, just really practically prepare.
Yeah, I so agree. I think sometimes we want to be so value based that we deliver the kitchen sink and people get lost in the sauce.
Yeah, yeah,
And so, I love that message. And, the other thing that I really pulled out, and it speaks to one of the questions we have, which is how do you handle hecklers? So, thank you, Rita, for asking that question. One of my, I referenced live video before. It really helped me with my speaking abilities. I firmly believe that. But one of the values for me was the experience of dealing with all the trolls and really understanding that, like, what is going on in that person's life that they are
yes,
spending time heckling other people. I've never been in a public setting. I will say this: I've never been in a public setting where I'm on a stage and had to experience a heckler. But you absolutely do in live video, for sure. I've had that happen quite a bit, whether you're live or whether, it's somebody after the fact that, says something negative to you. The reality is it's all about them. It's not about you. That's what you have to understand. And I would love your take on that too. If you,
yeah, same. I've never been heckled in public, and I've spoken for years and on lots of different size stages. If you're doing workshops, there's probably more of a chance of somebody interacting and challenging you. That's not heckling, but if they're challenging a belief or a something, then you just have to decide, like, what hill are you worth? What hill is worth dying on? Like, are you going to argue with them, or are you going to say, "Well, that's great feedback"? I've seen Carrie V do that. That's great feedback. Thanks for sharing that, or agree to disagree, or whatever. On video, I tend to ignore them. You can also, I would say this: Kim and I don't have to probably deal with those much anymore because our audience will take care of them for us. Our audience will shut them down for us. Kim, is that the truth? I
yeah,
mean, we don't
absolutely.
have to fight our battles anymore. Our
We
people will fight
don't.
our battles for us.
It's so sweet. I am so appreciative of it, because the reality is I'm not good at confrontation. I don't want to have that. That's a negative. I'm so positive. I'm
Same.
always a glass half full gal.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
I believe you bless their heart. Of course, we're
yep,
Southern. We have the advantage of being able to bless their heart and then block them. I mean, that's just, it's okay. They don't have
yeah,
to be in your world, and
yeah,
you don't have to take it personally. It's them projecting. It's not you. It's not a true thing. Uh, and you don't have to believe what they believe. So you can
yeah.
bless and block. Neil
Perfect.
wants to know about vulnerability. Like, I'm
Mhm.
very vulnerable. I open up, I talk about my special needs son a lot. It's a fine line. Sometimes vulnerability is a fine line between that and exploiting the issues that you're dealing with. So you have to be a little careful. I also believe vulnerability is different than using your audience for therapy. I don't believe you should address some of those things when you're in the heavy of it. I think you should wait till you're on the other side of it, because you're still wounded and working through it. Also, I believe with vulnerability, depending on the age of your children or your parents or your peers, you have to be careful what you're vulnerable about, that you're not making them vulnerable and without their permission. So, I do talk a lot about my struggles. I tend to talk about them on the other side of them, when I can be of use to someone else and helpful to them and not drag them through the trauma with me. So I am not a trauma expert. So I don't know what the steps to that would be, but I do believe you should be somewhat vulnerable, but I also believe you should be safe. So
Yeah.
it's a little bit of a fine line. And also, don't expose yourself. Like, as women that travel alone, we have to be very
Mhm.
careful about, like, you're not going to see what hotel I'm staying at.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do geolocated things when I'm traveling. I'm not going to invite a bunch of people to meet up with me or ask you to pick me up at the airport. Stuff you read about in Harv McKay's book and all the old school book. Like, the world has changed.
Yeah.
Nobody is going to know what gate I'm at the airport. It's just going to be
Yeah.
different. So just balance that. Just be really wise. Vulnerable means, yes, I'm a mess, but you don't have to know what mess I'm in at the moment. And I can still be very effective at what I do.
I really, so it's funny, a couple of things I really took away from what you said that I do believe that sharing after the lessons I've learned are stronger. Like if you're going through something, what did how did you process through that? I think that is really what people want to know, not so much the mess. They want to know how you solve the mess, but sharing the mess is a part of the story because I think, but there should be some boundaries absolutely around that
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
And I'm in 100% alignment with you. I was at this military ball like last Friday. I didn't share it, haven't shared it yet. I probably will, but I don't usually share where I'm at in the moment because it makes it makes my husband crazy because I'm way out there. He's like, you need to pull that back. People are going to figure out because it's happened, by the way, it's happened. So
Oh,
you do have to be careful for sure. So let's falling back into the speaking thing. So again, there's people that may be speaking, may want to speak. Question of the day: should they speak for free just to get some experience?
well, I believe, and I did drop in the private chat to you a resource that I have. We can share at the end if you want. That you don't have to speak for free, but that you do need to decide what your compensation looks like. And what I mean by that is you should be paid either in contacts that you gather at the event, contracts of things you sell at the event, cash that you're paid to be at the event, content that you get from being able to audio or video record it or have photos, or credibility, meaning who am I sharing the stage with? Those are 5 forms of compensation, and different stages of your speaking career call for different stages of compensation. So, for instance, the time that one of the times I got to speak with John Maxwell, they offered me the spot right before him because he was looking for some speakers for his program, and but it was a very, very low budget conference. You know why? Because they blew their budget on John Maxwell, right? He took up the whole budget for the whole event. So did I go speak at that conference? Well, yes, 100%, but I put in the contract that I wanted him in the room when I spoke. Well, as a result of that, Kim, I have a testimonial from John Maxwell talking about what an amazing speaker, that I had him in the palm of my hand, blah, blah, blah. And then we shot a video in between the break. So was that worth me speaking? Did I speak for free there? No. I was paid in credibility and also that testimonial. Sometimes I'll speak at a place where they want you to sell something from stage so I can move people into a coaching package or a consulting package. I can speak somewhere where I'm able to do lead magnets and build up my email list and sell to them later. So I would just challenge you to think of this 5 forms of compensation so that you're not speaking for free ever. You're always getting something out of it, even if it's contacts, content, credibility, cash, or whatever that 5th one was. God, I'd have to run through them all again.
Yeah,
Going too fast.
okay.
Too much caffeine.
I'm going to share this blog resource that you gave me, but
Yeah.
I'd like to share just one other quick strategy. I think that will be value based to people who would like to monetize their opportunities to speak. But to Carrie's point, there are value propositions that you can exchange for money. And the way that I would suggest that you position that is, well, I never speak for free, but I will waive my speaking fee if,
yes,
and fill in the blank, whatever it is you want. So that you're technically speaking for free, but you're getting something. And the expectation is that they have to reciprocate for that exchange.
Yeah.
So whatever that is, if they're willing to do it, maybe it's some of the things that Carrie just mentioned. Now you have an exchange of value. You're not showing up for free. That's super powerful. So
right, it is. It's your form of compensation for this. Well, I never speak without compensation. So since this is not in your cash budget, let's look at what else that might look like.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'll share a quick little lesson learned too. We learn these things when we're speaking is To your point, John Maxwell probably had a pretty big speaking fee, and they probably spent all their speaking money on him. I was an opening keynote at this event. And when they approached me for it, they were like, yeah, we have a low budget, blah, blah, blah. And so I agreed to speak. And it's not the event's issue. It's my issue. This was a lesson I learned. So I agreed to speak for a keynote on the front side of this event. When the closing keynote came, male keynote speaker, and he freely shared what he got paid to speak because he was giving away his speaking fee to the audience. And I'm like, let's just say it was a sizable difference between what I was paid and what he was paid. I didn't give away mine, maybe, but my point is that you have to learn these lessons sometimes the hard way. So, never devalue what you know. If you don't value yourself, and if you don't go into the contract negotiation from a place of valuing yourself, you'll get the short end of the stick.
Yep.
But, yeah. So, what are your top strategies for finding paid gigs? How do you find opportunities to speak? Yeah, this is a good one, right?
Yeah, it's a hard one to answer because you and I, we have done so many blog talk radios and Facebook Lives for people and teleconference calls, and I have not marketed myself actively as a speaker. My speaking has come to me. But if you reverse engineer how would you do what Carrie has done? It means be a little bit of visible everywhere. Say yes to podcasts. Say yes to Facebook Lives. Say yes to interviews. Do Facebook Lives on your own page, because people hire people that they see and they hear. If they can't see you or hear you or find you, they're not going to fund you. You have to be findable to be fundable. Write that down. That was good. You have to be findable to be fundable. So my first speaking gig, somebody called me on my landline back in the day. They said, we've been hearing you on all these teleconference calls, and our people keep telling us they want to learn more from you, right? So their audience actually recommended me. So what did that tell me? Keep showing up in these other places, because when they can see me speak like this, then they're pretty sure that can translate to on stage. And then the other thing is, when you do speak on stage, it's like dating, right? It's easier to find somebody to date when you're already dating somebody. It's easier to find a job when you have a job. It's one of those things, and I think it has to do with confidence. But always ask in the afterglow is what I like to say. When you're at a speaking gig and they're so happy with you, or you're talking with the decision makers, who else do you know that would be served by this talk for their audience or something similar? And so I never leave a gig without multiple contacts of people or references for people that I can follow up with. So be a little bit of everywhere. Be talking now so people can know that you can form some sentences. Do Facebook Lives, do video snippets, do short form content if that makes you happy. But you have to be speaking. When your mouth is open, your business is open. And so you got to open your mouth and be seen. If you want to be a speaker, you have to be speaking. So post some pictures of when you did speak, stage some if you need to, but be on camera, be live, and be speaking. I have clips like this of me talking with friends online that are a little bit of everywhere, so that people can look up and see that I speak, that I have some aha moments, that I can connect with an audience, that I'm articulate. And I get more gigs from these kind of things than I do from sending out marketing brochures and books and those kind of things. That being said, they do want to see a footprint for you. So they do want to see that you have either a blog or a YouTube channel or a consistent website or a book or something like that. You have to show some authority in your space. But that authority doesn't have to be a best-selling book. It can be a well-designed funnel. It can be a consistent YouTube channel with graphics that match. It can be that you do a Facebook Live every week consistently, but you do have to have a footprint, and they do have to be able to see you and listen to you. They have to be able to find you.
You do have to you have to project some authority around your expertise. And it doesn't have to be all the things, exactly to Carrie's point. Just having consistency of content. Content is king. It still is, but being able to, for somebody to check you out, because
Yes.
they do, they're going to check you out. That's just the nature of the beast. But I love what you said about, seeing that you can form sentences, right? Seriously. That's why live video is so powerful, or podcast interviews, or, anywhere you can get in front of an audience of people, whether they're yours or someone else's. I call them other people's audiences, where your ability to project your expertise is available to you. It's just,
Yeah. And let me go back to what you said earlier about how you and I are the same in person as we are in camera. You and I also get cute for the camera. Like, we show up the way that we show up. So we also look like our photos. Our videos look like our photos. If somebody chimes in to see us live, they don't have the flinch factor, is what I call it. They don't flinch when they see us or say, who is that? Like, we have been in public at speaking engagements and didn't know who the humans were with us because they looked so different than their publicity pictures. Don't be that human. If you look radically different than your Zoom photo or your profile photo, they're not going to trust you, and they're going to log onto your live video. So how are you showing up for live video? Are you always a hot mess in your video? I'm not saying you have to do everyone with full makeup or everyone with full hair, everyone in a suit. I'm saying they do need to see you as your stage self sometimes. I do hair and makeup almost every single day of the week because I never know when I'm going to be on camera, and I never know who's going to see when I'm on camera. So I want to be brand consistent and brand alignment all the time, so that I'm more hireable, because speaking is an image-based business. If you don't think so, you're wrong. I'm sorry,
so
but you're
true.
wrong. You're
So
wrong.
true.
And if they see your pictures and they like what they see, but then they log onto your video and you have a big weight fluctuation either direction, your hair color is very different either direction, or they can't find you looking like they would put you on stage in front of their people, that's going to harm you. That's going to harm you. So
Yeah. That's why, I'm really big on, showing up with authenticity. Like if you share, like I'm in my hoodie today, like that's my normal thing. But now, would I show up on a stage looking with my hoodie? Probably not.
Depends
Maybe.
on the audience. Depends on the
Depends
audience.
on the audience. Although I will say this, I get a little turned around about going back to, and I am not a man hater. I don't want anybody to think that, but there is a difference between men speakers and women speakers in the context of how we show up. A woman sometimes will feel like she has to dress up, dress to the nines, got her dress and her heels on, and a guy shows up in his jeans and a fancy shirt. I'm like, what the heck?
Or not a fancy shirt.
Or not a fancy shirt. So my point is, like, sometimes us women have got to just show up like we would, instead of feeling the pressure of conforming to what we think we should be. So anyway, I just wanted to share that real quick because it's a little bit of a sore point for me. I got a rant there.
It is, but that day that I spoke for John Maxwell, my husband was horrified. That's back when the Barefoot Executive had been published. That was still my active brand. I spoke barefoot in ripped jeans and a shirt. That was very on brand for me at the time. That is not my brand now. But my husband said, "You're going to speak for John Maxwell barefoot? Really? This is what you're wearing?" I said, "I am who I am.
Yeah,
I'm not going to go pretend to be somebody I'm not." Now, my style has morphed. It's very, very different than it used to be, and that's also not my brand anymore. So it's different. But also, I will tell you, it's one of the reasons I work very, very hard at my weight and my image and my hair color and all the things, because women are still
judged,
discriminated against, whereas the guys can speak and be 50 pounds hanging over their gut and nobody cares, whereas we still have to be cute. It's unfair, but it is what it is. And it wasn't a battle I was willing to fight. Hear me.
Yeah.
I am very body positive. My girls can tell you that. I practice what I preach. I'm very body positive, but I made the choice to be hired instead of fight that battle. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
There is a place for that battle. There is a place for arguing for the equal standards. I chose to be working. And maybe I can fund advocacy, but I wanted to be on stage instead of right. I chose work instead of being right.
And so sometimes, honestly, I don't want to make waves around it. It is what it is. Like, I either conform to it or I choose to do something different. Right. So anyway, well, let me ask this question. This is a biggie. What is the most valuable lesson you've ever learned from as a speaker?
Hmm. Most valuable lesson learned as a speaker. Um, this is kind of couched in a pet peeve, but I really think that timing matters. And going over time doesn't mean what you have to share with the audience makes it that much more important. It makes you seem arrogant and selfish. So I would say, as a speaker, one of my primary goals is always to end on time or to help the event get back on time, because it really is a poor reflection on you, and you won't get hired back if you're overtime, unclear, and disregard the speaker manifest. So
Oh
that's
my gosh. Like,
I
so
know you have some stories about I'm sure you have some stories
so
about
I've
that.
been on both sides of the fence. I've been on the being on other people's stages, and I've had my
Yeah.
own stage at, having events. We had the speaker one time, won't name the speaker, and his spot was like 40 minutes, an hour and a half later, and we were trying to figure out how we were going to get him off the stage. No joke. So I love that you brought that up. I think that's such a valuable lesson because
Selfish.
as an event coordinator, you're right. There's a time block. They're under a lot of pressure to make sure that the event is, goes according to plan. And so being able to have that awareness, I think, is super powerful
Yeah, and
as a speaker.
the more prepared you are and the
Mhm.
more competent you are, I can say to Kim, "Kim, I know the event is 30 minutes past. Is it more important to you to get the event back on track, or is it more important to you to get 90 minutes out of me? You tell
Mhm.
me, I will make it work either way." And there have been some event planners that are saying, "Carrie, as long as we can wrap by 2, can you do that? We hate to take time from you." And I'll say, "Hey, this is why I ask. I can go cut a story. I can go cut a slide. It's fine. I'm a pro. I can handle it. I'm going to get your event back on track for you." And guess who's the hero?
Yeah.
I'm the
Yeah.
hero. Instead of like, "Well, you promised me 90 minutes. I'm gonna minutes." Like, that's not about you. That's not about audience. That's not about serving the event planner. The event planner will check. So I would say that number one lesson as a speaker is you are a rock star when you end on time or rescue time for them.
Mhm.
You are an arrogant diva who is selfish and unprepared. I might say, if you go an hour and a half for a 40-minute slot, it means you don't know what you're doing. It means you
Amen.
didn't
Or you
prepare,
can't deliver your message in a shorter window of time, which is a problem.
which is a
So
clarity problem. Yeah.
I want to kind of close this up with another, lots of times when we're looking at authority, we look at it through the lens of the bigger things, which is like speaking on people's stages or, you know, getting paid to speak, or a book or something like that. Authority comes in all different sizes and shapes. But you have a book, you're getting ready to do something that I think is fascinating. Will you share a little bit about the trilogy, the box set that you have coming out? Because I think that's just fabulous. Tell us the story about that and
Yes.
how
Uh,
you I know you don't have a mechanism for it yet, but tell them how they can like get on your list so that they can learn more about.
Yeah, absolutely. So, The Barefoot Executive came out in 2011, and I have not written another book since. I've been in process on a book, but I just couldn't pull the trigger on it. Didn't want to pull the trigger. Then COVID happened, then all the things. I just couldn't decide what I wanted my message to be. But when I was little and I read the Chronicles of Narnia, which I know many of you have, I set a goal. I was probably 9. I set a goal, and the goal wasn't to write a book. The goal was to have a box set. The goal was to have like a trilogy. I've always had in my mind I really wanted to release a trilogy. And so I just approved the covers. We've got the initial manuscripts in. We're supposed to have edits done over the next week or so. And I'm releasing a box set trilogy. I'm hoping to have it ready for Black Friday promotion and Christmas delivery, based on my work and based on what we do. And so we are releasing 3 books at the same time, much like Netflix does, I guess. So you can binge them all at once. They are, I call them airport seat back pocket size. They're 6 by 6, and they are Move the Needle, which is the tiny changes that add up to big results. That's the tactical how to change your life, your body, your bank, your business account. It is the second one is called Make It Matter. It's why we do what we do and how to never run out of motivation and drive, tapping into your unstoppable self. And then the third one is leadership based, and it's called Change the Room, how to change the world by leading yourself first and the people in your sphere. So it's the who, the how, and the why. And that will be released in the pre-sale the next few weeks. So very excited about that. Oh, and the way you can get on my list is I think we dropped the speaking resource in the chat. You can get on my email list. You can follow me on social media. I'm very active on Facebook and also Instagram. So I'm sure we'll be doing all sorts of previews and teases and those kind of things. Kim will have all that information so that you can. I know. I'm so excited.
I'm so excited. Well, I was excited just to know that you were doing it, but now that I know the what, like what is it? It's like super exciting. I'm like, yes.
It's a whole new thing. A whole new audience.
Yes, we should probably do this again when you have the book out, so we can pull apart some of those components and really give some exposure to it. So want to give a quick shout out to our winners today. Rita and Rachel are the winners of the Barefoot Executive. Guys, seriously, that book still has so much value in it. Definitely when it arrives at your doorstep, sit down and have a cup of coffee and start reading. It'll be an amazing resource for you. And for those of you who don't have it already,
get the audio.
It's go get it.
Yeah, and the audio is an award winner. Like we beat out Gary Vee and Tina Fey the year we did the audio awards. So I read it myself, and it's just like sitting and having a conversation with me. And so many of the principles are just timeless in there. It's not an old and outdated book.
Yeah, and I think that's the key to writing a book too, by the way, is making it evergreen. All right. Well, I just want to say thank you so much for being with us today, sharing your amazing wisdom and just your vibe is just so amazing, right, y'all? Is she not like amazing? I just love her. So thanks for being with us. And I would like to say thanks to all of you guys, all of you who are live watching on the replay. Anybody that's spending time and giving us your attention, we value that always. Without you, we wouldn't have a business. So we're just so appreciative of you guys. So just want to say that real quick. Take care of yourselves. Stay safe. We'll see you next week, same time, same place. See you then.
Bye, everybody.